Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Story Behind the Stories. For the May 5th edition of the Neepawa Banner Press, we're going right into another month here. I'm your host this week, Casper, Wehrhahn, and I'm here with Ken today. Ken, thank you so much for joining me.
Good, 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah!
I get to have fun on TV with Owen last week and with you today, so we're good.
Yeah, we got a double feature of Ken going on here. Thank you again for joining me. And we have a really full paper this week. Seems like we say that pretty often, but it's true. We have a really, really full 20-page paper this week. So many stories that we've been going out and covering, and of course having people submit to us as well, and that is much appreciated. But starting right on the front page, as always, a good place to start. A really wonderful story that we get to do every year, the Dream Ride story. They're planning their 2023 event, and hopefully can get a lot of good support again this year. It's a wonderful thing that they do, helping out kids who are fighting very tough illnesses and making a dream of theirs come true. And we have 2 kids that are being supported this year. They select a couple kids every year. And the kids this year are from Minnedosa and Plumas, Kane and Kendall. So definitely take a look at their stories.
You're right, it is always a cool story, a great work that the Dream Ride people are doing. And it takes a lot of work on their part, but it doesn't take a lot of work on the part of the people who are participating. I mean, they have to be there for part of a day and ride the bike and collect the pledges, but they've raised a lot of money in the past. And the 2 kids, you'll love the picture on the front page and of the 2 young people there. And the one especially has got the best set of glasses that you could ever have for a picture, and just jumps off the page. So yeah, consider supporting that. Somebody asks you to support them for this ride, it's a bike ride, around Clear Lake on an old, right? And I can't even ride a bike anymore, but I'll make sure I try and support somebody who is. So.
Absolutely, yeah. They're doing that event on July 8th, so definitely take a look at all those details. And it sounds like they've had a really good early response so far, so that's very encouraging. They're hoping to reach a goal of $40,000 this year, and I believe last year it was $20,000, and they did really well with that. So
what's their goal this year?
$40,000.
40,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
Big goal.
Doubling that's a tough one to go. Yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully they can meet or exceed that, and I wish them all the best of luck. I know Gary and Marcia, I don't know if it's Forg or For You. I haven't heard it. For You? Okay.
For You, yeah.
They're really excited about this and are glad to be helping organize it once again. So
yeah, yeah, great people.
Coming up next, we have a pretty big, I suspect, announcement for a couple different areas regarding the Stride Credit Union. And Ken, this is something that you might have a good bit to say on. But the Stride Credit Union has announced that it is closing 3 of its branches, and those are in Oakville, Plumas, and Glenella. That is effective September 5th. And the reason cited was due to minimal in-branch traffic. They've had a lot of people moving to online banking and that sort of thing, and it's something that they didn't have deliberation with directly with the public. It was an internal conversation just to consider the best course of action there. The 2 buildings that they own in Plumas and Glenella, they do want to sell those buildings, so they're welcome to any suggestions for future use of those as well. I'm not too sure what sort of impact this will have myself. I'm not very familiar with those communities and the usage of those credit union branches, but...
Well, I think it will have definitely a strong psychological effect, and I think that the management of Stride knows that. They know there's going to be pushback, really is. I'm not sure how old the building is in Glenella, but the one in Plumas is not that old. Like, it might have been there for, I don't know if it was built 15 years ago or whatever it was. It may not have been that long. Both good buildings, and having a banking institution in a town, in a village, is pretty important, and I'm sure it's very important to the people in Plumas and Glenella. And when the amalgamation took place for Glenella with Beautiful Plains, that was one thing, but that's quite a while ago. And then not that many years ago when Plumas and Gladstone and Austin and Portage and all those all amalgamated under Stride, and then Stride took over Beautiful Plains and Glenella as well. And the promises, no, I shouldn't say the promises, indications were that there would not be, too many major changes. And we're always skeptical when we hear that, because when they start examining the books and the traffic flow and then all that sort of thing, their view changes. And I think we have to remember that not all the people in Plumas and Glenella are credit union customers. Some are banking in Portage or Neepawa or maybe McCreary, I don't know. Not all the people there are affected by this. And so I guess if the credit union had all the customers in the area, they might view it a little differently. But there's definitely going to be some changes there, and it's not going to be good for those communities. And I know a lot of things are online, but I was talking to a couple of people who work at the credit union who obviously they can't say anything because, they're not authorized to speak. But I told them, I said, you're going to get pushback on this. And if you think that all the I shouldn't use this phrase, but all the little old ladies in Glenella and Plumas are going to go and do online banking. I should say all the little old people, men and women. I'm a little old man. Well, I'm not that little, but I'm old. Anyway, and online banking's okay. Like I check my balance online, but my wife handles all the banking and she does it all online. But we only live a block from the credit union. There's people who just say, no, we're not going to do this, and they may switch banks. They may want to go to a bank where they can actually walk in, do their thing, and but then they got to drive anyway. But so it's people are going to be making some decisions there. I don't know, Glenella's 35 miles out of Neepawa, and Plumas to be about the same, or a little closer to Gladstone, where there is a branch that's open. Yeah, it's not going to be happy camper time over this, and I feel sorry for the people. I feel a little bit sorry for the credit union because they've made this decision, but there's going to be pushback, no question.
Yeah, and they definitely expect that. I guess one positive thing is that the employees that are employed there are going to have opportunity with Stride Credit Union still. Like they're not being laid off or anything, so that's nice to hear. I don't know how much they'll have to move in that case, or if it'll just be a very minimal sort of, commute time difference. Hopefully very minimal, but that at the very least is good.
Well, there's some commuting going on already. Because there's people who work and live in those towns already. They're working at other branches now. There's a lady commuting into Neepawa that works. I think used to work at one of the other branches, and it's got to be 35 or 40 mile commute for her at least, and so to maintain their job status and their seniority, they're moving to where the work is, and it has ever been thus, but it's still not something you eagerly anticipate or embrace if you don't have to.
Right. Yeah.
So we'll see how it pans out, I guess.
I guess so. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I wonder if we'll actually get any letters on this as well.
Well, there's a good invitation. If you think this is a good idea, send us a letter. If you don't think it's a good idea, send us a letter.
Yeah,
we'll publish it. Just be nice. Can't be libelous or nasty, but we'll publish a letter for sure on that.
Definitely. Another big development, at least I anticipate will be a big one, and one that people are likely going to be happy about in my estimation, is to do with a bill that has actually just passed the House of Commons, presented by Dan Major, Bill C-288, which, if you're not familiar with it, essentially would amend the Telecommunications Act and would require Canadian internet companies to provide accurate and transparent information to customers regarding the internet speeds that they pay for. I know this has been an issue sort of all across the board. Obviously, internet is not cheap. Phone service isn't cheap. And so, you want to get what you're paying for. But that's quite often isn't the case, especially if you're in a rural community. Things might not quite be up to snuff. You might just not have internet, but you're paying for it. Who knows? Depends on your situation, I guess, where you're living at, etc. But yeah, hopefully that is going to amend this. It still has to go on for further readings, if I remember correctly. But yeah, it's passed unanimously in the House of Commons.
Yeah, and Dan has fought a long time on this issue and other issues related to internet, cell phone charges, all the rest of it, because we pay a lot more in this country than apparently we do in a lot of other countries. And the technology isn't as advanced here, believe it or not, as it is in a lot of other countries. And so Dan is pushing for this. I know that this whole idea of rural internet accessibility has been going on for 25 years or more. And I know I was involved in the Manitoba Smart Network back in, we'll say 2000, somewhere in there, and it was an issue then. WCG, they may be satellite now somewhat, but they're hardwired. You're hardwired, then you pay for it, but you can pay for the varying speeds, like we're WCG, Westman Communications Group, here with our phones on the banner and our internet service. When their internet service goes down, we lose our phones too. That's not the greatest thing in the world, but the level of the speed is one thing that's been a battle for a long time, and then the actual availability. And there's literally been hundreds of millions of dollars invested and promises made by companies and by governments. Oh, we're going to get you high internet speed in all parts of rural and remote Manitoba. They're lying. They're not, and they may never, because of the expense of getting it out there unless there's a major shift in the technology. Satellite makes it more accessible. With towers, you have to have line of sight, and when the country's like this, it's pretty hard to get line of sight all the time. So I don't know if they've got this thing solved yet. I don't think they do, but this bill, to Dan's credit, as long as it passes the Senate, hopefully it'll pass the Senate, will come into effect, and hopefully will make things better.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I can only hope this will help things progress on that front. And it's been a discussion for a while in different circles or areas, whatever. That I believe I've seen it said that having internet access, in addition to telephone access, of course, just wherever you are, is more of an essential thing. It's not like something extra anymore. It's more of like you need to have this. So if we can keep progressing in ways that aid with that, then that'll definitely be beneficial to everyone.
Yeah, on the cell phone side, it's bad because you maybe remember we did a story, it's not that many years ago, when a tornado hit the Alonza, Minnesota area.
Yes.
And a man who apparently didn't know it was coming and didn't take shelter died in that tornado. Mm-hmm. A lot of people suffered a lot of damage, and maybe could have had a little less damage if they could have been better prepared, but the signal didn't go out consistently that, take cover, there is a tornado coming.
Yeah.
And so for emergencies like that, especially a tornado, you don't have a whole lot of warning. And so it's the whole internet, cell phone thing, where we got a long way to go here to bring it up to where it should be, and to bring consistency in the service. Like, we have pretty good cell service right here in Neepawa, but there's dead spot between here and Gladstone. There's dead spots between here and Carberry and then Glenboro. There's a dead spot in the Spruce Woods Park. There's a dead spot between here and Minnedosa. It's just.
Well, and I remember, I don't have this issue anymore. I don't know if it's because different providers or whatever, but I remember years ago now, I think I was still in high school, just making trips to Brandon, like between Minnedosa and Brandon, somewhere along the lines, it just poof, no service.
No.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hopefully it'll change.
Yes, fingers crossed. I really hope we keep making progress there. But we should get on to our other stories. We have a lot to cover, and of course, we only have so much time on these shows. Our next one coming up is about the King Club, actually with a very interesting program that I hadn't heard about before, and that is on page 8 here of the paper. It's cycling without age. Something I was very interested in learning about. There's going to be a local chapter of that forming here with assistance from the King Club. And basically what Cycling Without Age is, or CWA, is that it's a nonprofit organization which provides a cycling service with the goal of helping seniors and those with low mobility by providing rides around town, fresh air, and of course, socialization. And socialization was a very important aspect of them wanting to start a local chapter here, actually. This is something they've talked about for a while and wanted to actually get going during the pandemic with COVID-19 there when it was at its height. But you know, these things, they take time, and so unfortunately they weren't able to get it going then. But they are very close to having it started now. They have their Trishaw bike, a specified bike that has 3 wheels for this sort of thing. It's all put together. They got it put together in April, just towards the end there. And now they're just waiting for insurance to go through on the bike. Then they can start doing training with their volunteers, which they are looking for more volunteers. So be sure to reach out to them if you're interested. And then, you know, hopefully they're able to start 1st of June. That's their hopes.
Well, these little rigs, these look like a bicycle rickshaw thing, therefore
Yeah.
Trishaw.
Mm-hmm.
They're all over the world. I mean, in one form or another, you know, people use them personally, or they, you know, transport people with them. So it'll be interesting to see how it works. Quite frankly, I think they're going to have to be a little extra beware of Neepawa drivers. Sorry. Anyway, may as well say it right out. Those left-hand turns across the traffic to go park. You do it all the time, folks, or a lot of you do, on Main Street and other streets here in Neepawa. It's about a $60 or $80 fine if you get caught, and it's illegal and it's dangerous. Don't do it.
Yes,
But
and
anyway,
please
whatever.
make sure you stop at red lights.
Yeah. Don't run over a cyclist or
Yeah.
a pedestrian. Anyway,
Yeah, but hopefully this takes off. I think it's a great idea. I know there is, and you've had a lot of columns about it too throughout the pandemic, but you know, just seniors, etc., being isolated throughout that time, and you know,
Yeah.
it's hard on people not being able to get out there and socialize a bit, get that fresh air. Fresh air helps a lot too, you know. Just that sort of thing, I think is a great program to have around here.
well, my wife and I still, you know, even through the pandemic, we got out quite a bit, but quite a lot of other people didn't, and we didn't near as much. And I know I'm getting older, so my memory is slipping. I get that, but I find that in the last 2 or 3 years, a lot of names have sunk a little further into my memory bank than they used to be. Mm-hmm. And I have trouble. I know that person, they're from, and their, you know, sister to, you know, finally, oh yeah, that's who that is. And it's not just age, it's because we haven't been out and about and seeing each other near as much as we did 3 or 4 years ago. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So this will help. This is good. Transportation-wise, socially, it's a good thing.
Definitely, yeah.
good
It'll
thing.
be available for, I believe, independent bookings and, you know, senior homes, etc. So, yeah, read the full details on page 8. Well, alongside a debut of something new, we have the return of something that's been around for a while. The Neepawa Area Community Choir is looking forward quite excitedly, I might add, to their first live concert in 3 years. Of course, they had some impacts as well with the COVID-19 pandemic, but they're very eager to make their return. And please note the correct date that I'm about to say here. There was a misprint in the paper, and I do apologize for that. But May 10th at 7 p.m. at Neepawa's Knox Presbyterian Church, they're going to be doing their concert there. And yeah, I had a lovely sit down with them in their practice room at NACI there, and just talked to them about the past few years and how they feel to get back into it, and just looking forward to that live concert once again. Talking about the experiences of some of their members there, and because they get different members in, and some people haven't done this before, some people very nervous, of course, and understandably so, to be getting into this, but then growing into it and having a great time doing it. So it was very lovely to sit down with them.
That's good. Yeah, that's note that May 10th, not May 20th, May 10th for that. So it's it's great to see. It's fantastic music. I mean, it's just unbelievable that the talent that we have in the community, and that these folks that are leading it can bring it out in everybody in a group like that. It's quite marvelous.
Indeed, yeah.
I used to sing in a choir, believe it or not.
Oh, did you?
A long time ago, I did.
Okay.
I'm not sure whether I sang tenor or 10 or 12 miles away or what it was, but I wasn't tenor, I know that. Anyway, long time ago.
Oh, goodness. We also have some exciting news, I feel, regarding a existing program that I admit I unfortunately wasn't familiar with until we got this story. Or at the very least, it wasn't in my memory at the time when I had the opportunity to read this. But HAND, a very awesome program that we have here, Home Assistance Neepawa and District. They have a community meal program that they've been doing for about 3 decades, so that's quite impressive. But they're looking to expand their access to that community meal program. Typically it was, sort of sit-in sort of style. And then, of course, with the pandemic, I know we keep talking about it, but essential context, it switched to, delivery or pickup style. And they did attempt to go back to the sit-in style, but they got a lot of feedback about that. And, just with changes because of the pandemic, people's comfort levels have shifted. And so they're looking to actually offer more delivery with that. And they'll be offering delivery to places like Kinsman Courts, Elks Manor, Aspenley, and Howden Place. So that was a really interesting story to read.
Now, I should have asked you this when you wrote it, and when I was editing, I don't think it says anything about here in Meals on Wheels. It's still separate from the Meals on Wheels program, I guess.
Okay, I'd have to check with someone about that.
We should have to check that out. I'm not sure, because it sounds like at first glance, quite a duplication of Meals on Wheels, but maybe I think they're still 2 different programs.
I think so, yeah.
They got a neat special effect on the paper here. So you got the plate of food right up here in the corner. If you look and say, how'd they get that plate of food to float up there and be delivered? Well, that's optical illusion with the newspaper business. The plate of food is there because we had to put it somewhere.
Yeah.
Owen did a It is not floating off to the customer.
Yeah, the plates don't have wings, sadly. They don't sprout them and fly off to meet you.
Oh, well.
But yeah, great job on that, Owen, getting that story. And great work with the editing there. I think that's a little nice touch there.
You're just aside quickly. Years ago, when we first learned that we could do Photoshop, and you're shooting a picture of a hockey game, and the puck is, it's going in the net, or has gone in the net, but it's not in the frame yet. You can actually put the puck there. It's cheating a little bit, but if we clicked 1 second later, we'd have had the puck in the picture. We've done that once. We've moved the puck and put it in the picture.
Just for a little extra effect, yeah, for sure.
Anyway, sorry.
That's great. And actually, speaking about hockey, that was great mention, Ken. Because our next story, I guess, in a sense, ties in with that. Perhaps in a looser way, but the Neepawa Egg Expo recently donated just under $3,000 to Miles for Mental Health. Of course, from their annual auction. A portion of that goes to the Neepawa Titans, with 10% of proceeds also going to a charity or organization of choice. And this year it was Miles for Mental Health. They felt it was very important, especially with past few years there's been some impactful losses in the community, and it's been impacting the surrounding area and, well, I guess people as a whole, cross country or cross continent, whatever. Mental health is a very important thing to consider and take care of, and they wanted to support a group this year that is all about that. They do different things, raising awareness and providing resources. So I thought that was really great.
Yeah, the Ag Expo is a initiative of the Neepawa Titans Hockey Club, and full disclosure here, I'm past president of the club and been involved for years, but I don't work on this project directly, at least not very much, but this would be the 5th or 6th year this has been done, with a portion of the proceeds going to a designated organization. So if it runs next year, there'll be a different organization, and it's a way of the hockey team being able to give back to the community. And so it's a tremendous program, and it's tremendous this year that the donation is going to Miles for Mental Health, for sure.
Yeah, they've done a lot of different things within the community. Of course, they've had their fun runs in the past, which always, I think, had a great turnout, and I actually participated for at least 1 year. I might have done 2 years. They've had great speakers on that. I thought they were very interesting. And they're working on an information sheet right now as well that they're looking to put out into different places within the community that will have resources on it listed there, and how you can actually go about making use of those as well. How you can pursue actually getting involved with those resources. So that is just fantastic. We'll be running short on time here very soon, but a couple more things to talk about. I'm actually going to jump to our last one really quick, because I think that's a good one to give a shout out to make sure that we don't miss it. But there is a McCreary resident that is celebrating her 100th birthday. It is Eva Fadak, who turned, of course, 100 on April 5th. Is that correct? April 5th, 2023? That's what it says. Submitted article. We really appreciate the submitted article. So you can read that on page 2. It goes through a whole bunch of her history, her family history, etc. Mentions her husband as well. And they actually milked cows and shipped cream to the creamery here in Neepawa, among many other things. So that was very interesting to read. We have a photo of her there, and a photo of her and her husband on there as well. So very awesome to have that in the paper.
Yeah, it's always good to have those kind of stories there, and very. She looks like she's in very good shape, especially for 100. But she's a very friendly lady, and I know some of her family, and good family, and it's nice to see them be able to celebrate with their mom like that. So.
Definitely very glad that her family is able to get out there and see her there. Makes that day a little extra special. I saw they had some cake and whatnot. We had some extra photos that we didn't have space for in the paper, but looked like a great time, and well, happy birthday. One more thing that we should mention before we get going here is our special features for this week. We have the Home and Garden on page 10 and Mother's Day on 11 and 12, so you can take a look at those. We have some articles there that might be of use for you, so definitely be sure to check those out. Well, there is a lot more in the paper that we did not have time to cover, as usually is the case. Sometimes we do have smaller papers, but it's difficult to get through to everything here. So make sure you pick up a hard copy of the paper. But in the meantime, thank you so much for joining us on behalf of myself and Ken. We really appreciate if you would reach out to us with any stories or letters to the editor, thumbs up, thumbs down, at news@neepawabanner.com. Or if you'd like to give us a phone call at 204-476-3401, that'd be great. We really appreciate hearing from you every time you reach out to us, and however much you can help us. We really appreciate hearing about different events that are going on in the community. And Ken, thank you again for joining me.
Good to be here. Thank you.
All right, and thank you again for joining us, and hope you have a good time until next week.